It might often seem like modern tanks are extremely similar to each other. The European Leopard, the American Abrams, the Japanese Type 10. Countries are very different, their tanks, not so much. In reality, though, every single MBT is its own beast, developed after hundreds of hours of planning, testing, and research involving input from countless engineers and military decision-makers. Today, let's prove this point by talking about the most interesting and memorable quirks of modern MBTs of War Thunder. Let's start the video by discussing guns. After all, it's the gun that, in no small part, determines the role that the tank can play in combat. For instance, take a look at the Soviet 152mm LP-83 cannon. It deserves a spot in our Hall of Fame because it can make 7-kilogram slugs fly at a speed of almost 2,000 meters per second. APF-SDS rounds fired by the LP-83 are the heaviest shells used by modern tanks. Other MBTs simply don't have anything quite like it. These rounds are among the punchiest as well. At point-blank range and at the right angle, they can penetrate almost 700 millimeters of armor. The Object 292, armed with the LP-83, is an undisputed champion of after-penetration damage, while modern Japanese MBTs and the German prototype known as the PT-16 T-14 are the clear winners in terms of sheer firepower. It takes their guns only 4 seconds to reload, and that's while they shoot heavy 120mm rounds. There are even more armament-related records. Even though basically every modern MBT is equipped with a smoothbore gun, the British Challenger 2 is an exception to this rule. It's armed with the L30 rifled tank gun, the last representative of its almost extinct kind. It's also the only gun that, apart from the standard NATO ammo, can also fire unique Hesh rounds. As the US and Germany switched to the RH-120, a smoothbore tank gun, they effectively abandoned this type of ammunition. By the way, it's the aforementioned RH-120A1 that holds the record for the highest penetration rate amongst all mass-produced tank guns. Yeah, it's not as punchy as the experimental LP-83, but its DM-53 APF-SDS rounds can easily pierce around 650 millimeters of steel. As we're talking about firepower, we also simply have to mention the Slovakian T-72 Moderna, as it's equipped with arguably the most powerful secondary armament, a remote-controlled 2A42 autocannon. When it comes to armor, it's a bit more tricky. Many manufacturers follow pretty much the same formula, providing their MBTs with multi-layered protection in the front and additional armor packages on the sides, but there are still quite a few outliers. For instance, the German Leopard 2A7 and the Swedish STRV-122 are almost invincible. They can survive a hit from even the monstrous LP-83 cannon. If we're talking about protection from all sides, there are several tanks that deserve recognition. The Russian T-90M is protected by 2 layers of ERA, as well as rubber fabric screens. The Swedish STRV-122B+ features composite screens, while the British Challenger 2 in its TES and OES variants is equipped with additional armor packages. The latter are also the heaviest main battle tanks in War Thunder. Due to all that add-on armor, their weight reaches almost 75 tons. Half a century ago, such behemoths would almost certainly have been classified as super heavy tanks. There are other MBTs that stand out from the rest. For example, the Japanese Type 10 is famous for its unique hydro-pneumatic suspension, which allows it to adjust ground clearance and tilt the tank forward, backward, as well as sideways. It also holds the title of the lightest and most mobile modern MBT, with its variants weighing no more than 45 tons and being capable of reaching speeds of up to 70 kilometers an hour in both directions. As for the maximum forward speed, the undisputed champion among prototype tanks and MBTs in general is the American XM1 by General Motors, which accelerates up to 83 kilometers an hour. Among regular production tanks, the winner is the Chinese ZTZ-99A, which can reach a speed of up to 75 kilometers an hour when moving forward. Another Chinese vehicle, the ZTZ-96, can compete with the Type 10 as one of the lightest MBTs. Its basic model, introduced in 1997, weighs just 41 tons. It's worth mentioning that some Soviet-era MBTs, which inspired Chinese designers, weighed even less in their early production years, but got progressively heavier as engineers slapped more and more armor on them. The German Leopard 2 is the most well-represented modern tank in the game. Currently, War Thunder features 20 variants of this vehicle, including German, Swedish, Hungarian, Polish, and Finnish modifications. Not all members of the family fall into the category of modern MBTs, of course, but even among them, there are quite a few record holders. For example, the Leopard 2 PSO is equipped with a 1,650 horsepower engine, one of the most powerful tank engines in the game. The most unusual MBT is probably the Israeli Merkava, the only modern tank with a helical spring suspension and front-mounted engine. The Merkava can also be used as an infantry fighting vehicle, although only in special cases. To transport infantry, most of the tank's ammunition would have to be unloaded, and the passengers would be extremely uncomfortable. But it's possible, technically. Some top-tier tanks are, well, more modern than others. Among production MBTs available in the game, the youngest combat vehicle is the Japanese Type 10, which entered service in 2012. It's one of the few 21st century MBTs created on an entirely new platform and not by modernizing an old tank. Among modifications of existing vehicles, the newest is the VT4A1, a Chinese MBT model from 2022. The British Challenger 3 also deserves special mention. Officially, it's still under development, and the tank in the UK tech tree is basically a test demonstrator. The British Army plans to start transitioning to the new model only in 2027. Continuing the discussion on service life, there are a few other interesting records that are worth noting. The T-72, one of the most popular Soviet and Russian tanks, has been in service for just over 50 years. Only the T-64 is older than that, with its earliest variants entering service with the Soviet Army in 1964. In contrast, the Challenger 1 had the shortest service life among all modern MBTs. The British Army retired it in less than 20 years. Finally, the last topic, production numbers. Many modern MBTs like the Leclerc or the Challenger were produced in small batches. There are only a few tanks that stand out here. The MBTs of the Abrams series, as they exceeded 10,000 units, and the Chinese Type 99A, with 1,200 tanks built. But if we broaden the timeline a bit, the title of the most produced modern MBT undeniably belongs to the T-72. 20,000 units is no joke. Modern MBTs embody decades of experience in heavy armored combat. They combine capabilities that would have been hard to imagine in a single vehicle just a few decades ago. What do you think about today's MBTs? Share your thoughts in the comments below.